It's time for the podcast. Was it show 9?
It is show 9. And everybody, welcome to show 9. Game Time Gents, episode 9. We are going to go into this episode like we've gone into all the other episodes prior to this. With the NFL season kicking off, I am joined here with Zoltowski again.
Hello.
Fish is here.
Hello.
And that's all we got. I'm your co-host, Nardi. And let's get right into the news and the life updates. So, our first two pieces of news are kind of sad. A couple sports legends have passed away. Pete Rose passed away today, as well as Dikembe Mutombo. Dikembe was taken very, very far too soon. He died of brain cancer at the age of 58. So, Dikembe Mutombo, a big personality in the NBA, you know, both when he played and also after his years playing the game. So sad to see him go. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of like documentaries and stuff come out about him that's going to be interesting to watch. So yeah, those are the two sad pieces of news we have. You guys have anything about Pete Rose? I'm not a huge baseball guy, so
I mean, he gets in the Hall of Fame now, right? I mean,
yeah, he does.
That's what they do. They wait till they pass, and then they're like, "Oh yeah, by the way, there we go." And then he gets in.
He'll posthumously get in.
What was that?
Yeah, sorry. We're
Lions
again,
game.
we're
Holy
always
crap!
watching the Monday Night Football games. Third quarter of the Dolphins Titans just kicked off, and
I'm turning that off.
3 minutes left in the first half for the Lions and Seahawks game. But yeah, so those are two sad pieces of information to update you guys on. Now, a little more updates for sports. This Sunday, the overseas game starts. It is the Jets and Vikings. They're going to be playing at, and I can't believe that this is the name of the stadium, but Northumberland Development Project, which is the home of the Tottenham Hotspur Football Club. If we have any international listeners over there in England or the UK, what are you guys doing with the names of your stadiums? What is this name? Fish, you have any insight on this? I know you're the big soccer guy in the group here.
No, I mean, they got some strange names, but I'm sure when they look over here and, you know, they look at the link and stuff like that, they're like, oh, okay, those are weird names still.
Yeah. Well, they don't sponsor the arenas; they sponsor the teams. Whereas you look at, hey, it's the arena that's like SoFi Stadium or Field, but then the soccer teams, their jerseys are all logos and stuff.
Yeah. Which I'm sure that'll come to the NFL someday.
Maybe.
The NBA, that's already started. They've got the patch.
Hate the NBA.
Top left of their jerseys. But yeah, so an important thing for fantasy to remember when those games start, they do kick off very early in the morning. The kickoff for that game is 9:30 in the morning Eastern time on Sunday. So that is something to think about if you're playing fantasy or if you're a degenerate like myself in sports betting. We will get into sports betting in a little bit. I had a really bad beat this Sunday. So, looking at you, Josh Allen.
Talk about him later.
Yeah. In other news, I have some personal news to share. I am almost at affiliate status on Twitch. I have one more stream. I'm hitting all the metrics currently. I have one more stream I need to complete, and I should hit affiliate status. I should be able to apply and obtain that, but that is going to be a stream this Thursday, so you'll hear this before Thursday. So if you have nothing going on Thursday night, about 6:00 Eastern time, just jump in. I think I'm going to play a new game that just came out. It's called the TCG Shop. I forget what it's called, actually. Let me look it up.
Oh boy.
Yep. Now my Steam's not working. Anyways, just come by. I'll be fine.
Just a virtual addiction of opening card packs. Let's be honest.
Yeah, virtual addiction of opening card packs. So that's like the main personal news I have. Zoltowski, Fish, what about you guys? Anything fun going on in your lives?
You want to take it over and do yours?
Yeah, I'll go ahead. So personally, starting a big week in school for me, going to learn how to do Unreal Engine 5, start learning how to actually make video games. So I'm excited for that. But then going back to the sports side of things, especially in the baseball world, so the Oakland A's had their last home game ever a couple days ago, and it, seen a lot of videos on it, all the memories that people had. It's just sad to see a city honestly ruined in the sports world by greed. Just average attendance was down. It was 17,931 people, which is 27th in the league. I think we all know who number one or the bottom one was, and the Dodgers was first at 48,800 or 657, which is just a massive difference. I mean, that's almost I think almost three times the people.
Yeah.
And then staying on the baseball. I'm sorry, I completely screwed that up. Wow, I mixed that up completely. The average attendance for the Oakland A's was 11,528. So Dodgers had over four times the people that the A's did. The White Sox was actually not last. That was the 17,000 number. But they did break the record finally for the most losses. They finished with 121 losses because they did win their last two games against the Tigers. But the Tigers clinched, handing the White Sox that last loss. So they were resting their starters going into the postseason. Easy wins for the White Sox there. And then staying with baseball, but going on the gaming side of it. I don't know if you guys ever played the Backyard Baseball video games back in the day. I had the one for the GameCube with A-Rod on the cover when he played for the Rangers. But the original one, Backyard Baseball 97, is coming back to Steam on October 10th. So you can wish list it now. Not a paid ad. I wish it was. But I know I'll be getting it because I never really played the original one. But I have just a lot of memories with Backyard Baseballs. And it looks like that there are going to be more new games coming out. And I'm excited for those to come back. I miss NFL Street, NBA Street.
Yep.
NHL Hits. I don't know if you guys ever played that one. The 3v3 hockey where you could just beat the crap out of each other. And NFL Blitz, of course, and we talked about that last pod. But that's it for me. Fish, why don't you get into your stuff?
I got a couple. Back to the gaming world. Bethesda did mark that they are planning to release Fallout 5. Which I know that was, that game amongst many of the plethoras that they have, from New Vegas to, Fallout 3, 4, and so on and so forth, is a pretty powerful franchise. A lot of, I know a lot of people our age played them. I know my sister played the hell out of those games, absolutely loved them. So I was excited to see Fallout 5 is coming. We haven't had a new game in a while. I know 76 came out a few years ago. It just doesn't hit the same as the other ones. They announced Fallout 5, and I was like, okay, sweet. Finally, when nobody's on, I can finally play that by myself, which happens a lot often nowadays, now that Stanford doesn't get on anymore.
The DLC comes out in like 2 weeks, and he'll be back on, is what he said.
Yeah, for like 4 days, and then he'll be out. So
another shot at Stamper. Another shot at Stamper.
Just taking jabs.
Unfortunately, I did continue to read, and it says they are targeting 2030. So that's, for everyone's quick math out there, that's 6 years away. So don't know why they announced it now, because now I'm going to be anxious for the next 6 years until it drops. But that was one of the biggest or bigger gaming news that I saw this week. As far back in the sports realm, going to the Crew game, Columbus Crew game this Wednesday. With a buddy of mine from college. We're super excited. He's got damn good seats right behind the goal, about 3 levels back, which is fantastic. So I can catch sweat from any of the players. But the big reason why I'm going is they were playing Inter Miami. So Messi's playing. He's back off the injury. Suarez is going to be there. Unfortunately, we're missing Neymar for the MSN back in Barca. But both of them will do. Obviously, Busquets is playing. Jordi Alba is playing. So it's going to be a very fun, exhilarating match. It'll be the second time watching Messi play. I know when he came to Cincinnati a few months ago, we went. Unfortunately, he was overseas playing for Argentina, continuously winning trophies over there. But glad to see him. Hopefully, he continues to play. No injuries, knock on wood. They are coming up to the playoffs, so he will need to play. Same thing with Suarez. Both teams are up at the top of the table, so it'll be very, very good, very, very exciting to watch everybody play. I know he's been an idol. I've been watching him since I was a young kid at Barca. So it's just something I'm very much looking forward to. Not the drive up or the drive back after the game, but possibly I might run onto the field. I don't know. I think I've been doing my wind sprints lately. I think I might be able to catch somebody. So
Got to put those calves to good work.
they're glorious calves. So that's my news for this week. Again, very excited about the gaming world, and then the Columbus Crew game as well. So now kick it back to you. Do you have anything else?
Just a couple updates about the podcast. Fish in the near future is going to be moving, which is going to give him a lot more room to create content like we want to create content. In other words, he's going to be able to have a space where he can have a face cam and be able to simulcast his face while we either do the podcast or while we do the gaming videos we're wanting to roll out with our friends. And that's going to be really cool. It's going to be give us the ability to be more flexible. Maybe if you're a YouTube listener, you could watch our smiling faces while we talk about sports. We do not claim to be experts by any means, but that is something we're really excited for moving forward. It's kind of that next step we feel like in the podcast, I guess, track of trying to become more successful. Another thing we're about to start doing is we're going to work on merch. We have had some of our friends ask about, merch designs because they enjoy the podcast. They want to, help us continue to grow. And it was brought up to us that maybe merch would be a good way to do that. I've already made a couple designs. I'm not really that artistic, but it's been fun to have people, really be behind us and want to support us like that. And going to look at different ways we can launch the merch, like different sites, different avenues to go through. So that is something that maybe we can get some feedback on too. So if anyone out there has any type of recommendations or anything like that in terms of like stores to use, I know Squarespace is something we've talked about releasing ourselves, maybe doing some sort of blog format when we want to talk about more things that are a little more niche, maybe writing a little article, posting it on there. So maybe we can integrate that into that. So that's just something else we're thinking about. But
I need a hat.
Like big podcast updates. Yeah, we need hats.
I need a hat really bad.
Need a couple shirts out there. So we want to really roll stuff out anyways ourselves to wear. What's up, Fish?
Who's been asking? Who wants the merch?
Well, specifically our wives have been asking. Ben and I, the guy who runs the donut shop that was our sponsor last week.
Donuts. Oh my God, those were all amazing.
We dug into those Sunday morning. I went down to his shop and, he's been a really good friend for a long time. And he is someone I've reached out to in the past about, following your passion projects. He has created this donut shop, donut dream by himself, and he's made himself a business. He's got a brick and mortar store. He's being very successful. So he's someone I've kind of looked up to and leaned on when it comes to, really growing and marketing yourself. But he did mention that, merch is a good way to do that. It's also, if anyone wears it outside, it's free advertisement for us too. So
free real estate.
Yeah, our friends we play games with as well. They have been kind of bringing it up every once in a while.
Nova's brought it up.
Nova's brought it up, I think.
You talked to him?
Who?
I talked to him a little bit. I'm sure Stamper would rock a hat.
Who?
Or maybe a slouch.
No, it's gotta be a beanie.
I'm sure Bosom would rock a hat if we gave him one. So yeah, just something cool that we're planning on doing. I think eventually I'm gonna make hats for Fish Soltowski and I with our specific logos on there with our team's colorways.
Look, so, I want the main logo on the front.
Yeah.
And then I want my logo right above
on the back.
On the back. That
well,
would be
there's
perfect.
an embroider shop here local that I'm gonna go and talk to them about probably when I'm in between jobs. So I'm starting a new job soon, and I have a little bit of time between. So I'm gonna tackle a lot of this stuff during that time. But yeah, that's really the big podcast updates. I don't have much else. And if you guys don't have much else, then we can get on to our week 4 review.
Let's do it.
All right, awesome. So
Yeah, I'm here for it. Let's go.
our week 4 review, this is if you're just now getting into the podcast, what we like to do is we like to review the week before in terms of a surprise from the week prior. We also like to talk about our fantasy hero and our fantasy zero for that week and any concerns we can see going forward. So the first thing I'd like to say is congratulations, gentlemen, on your week 5 or week 4 previews from last week. Every single game we picked was a great game to watch. From the college game, the Georgia Alabama, that was an amazing game to watch. The Thursday
Even
night,
though we didn't get to watch all of it.
even though we didn't get to watch all of it, we were at
It's
a
fine.
very early Halloween party. The Thursday night game Fish had written down as well. Even though it was low scoring, it was still entertaining to watch because it was such a close game. And then the game I picked for Sunday, it looked like a blowout in the beginning, but the Packers really came back and made that a competitive game against the Vikings. So I think we picked some really good ones, and we're really excited to dive into our week 5 preview as well. But for our week 4 review, we have some surprises. I'll just get this one started. This is kind of a boring surprise, but I thought that the New York Jets were just going to obliterate the Broncos, especially with all the Nathaniel Hackett drama going around with, he used to coach the Broncos and then he got fired. And when Sean Payton was hired, he pretty much badmouthed Nathaniel Hackett, which, if you don't know, Aaron Rodgers is a huge supporter of Nathaniel Hackett. He's been his offensive coordinator for multiple years, both with the Packers, and now he's the offensive coordinator with the Jets. So there was a lot of drama going into that game. And, the Denver Broncos, they squeaked it out, and I'm surprised that they did so. Especially with the Broncos' first half stats, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, boys, but I'm pretty sure Bo Nix had like -8 passing yards at the end of the first half. So it seemed like it was going to be all Jets. There was not a lot of scoring in this game. It ended up 10-9, but the Jets did squeak it out. Or I'm sorry, the Broncos did squeak it out against the Jets, which the Jets have been playing pretty well throughout the year. But they just couldn't beat out the Broncos. I'm not sure if it was weather related. That's what Rodgers alluded to in his post-game press conference. But yeah, that was my surprise for week 4 for sure. Really,
Yeah, but Bo Nix ended up 12 for 25 with 60 yards and 1 touchdown.
did just enough.
Yep.
Because Rodgers had an abysmal game from what I hear. I didn't get
12
but
or 24 for 42 for 225 yards.
yeah, so he played better, but just didn't translate to much scoring. But yeah, that's my week 4 surprise. Fish, your week 4 surprise is pretty enticing for everyone out there. So why don't you go ahead?
It is. Rookie quarterback plays in a tough division. Well, not as tough as what I'd like to be, but Jaden Daniels continues to surprise me week in and week out. Had a first, shaky couple games, but has really stepped into that zone there. Picked up another win this week. He went 26 of 30 for 233 yards, with a touchdown and an interception. He also, of course, did things with his legs, 8 carries for 47 yards, another touchdown. The biggest thing and surprising thing that I saw is he set an NFL record that day. Through the first 4 games, his completion percentage is at a staggering 82.1%, which is absolutely insane. Honestly, if the Eagles are listening, trade Hurts for him, give him Sirianni. It's just this guy it just continues to surprise me. I feel like he's already a veteran. He's playing like a veteran. He's not making dumb plays, and it's not like he's doing a lot of dump passes, quick slants. He's extending the field and is making those throws very accurately. That team is riding hot right now in a division that seems Dallas is kind of coming back into their ways. CD and Dak on the right track. Eagles are in absolute shambles. And then the Giants are, the Giants. Danny Dimes is only ass right now. He's not double ass. He's played well the last couple weeks, but
He has played well.
It wouldn't surprise me if Jaden Daniels continues this hot streak. Obviously, plenty of games to go through. He's gonna have some tough defenses. He's gonna have a couple off weeks, whatever it may be. Doesn't surprise me if they end up taking the leadership on top of that board there at number one. Especially the way he's been playing, how they've been establishing the run game with Brian Robinson, the receivers. This looks like Terry McLaurin. He looks to be, rejuvenated, energized now that he's got a quarterback that can get him the ball. That team is rocking and rolling, and they're playing hot right now. So that's my surprise, Jane Daniels. Hopefully he'll be a fantasy hero next week and weeks to come. So, Zoltowski, talk about your surprise.
Yeah, my surprise was the Sunday night game yesterday. The Ravens just absolutely beating the brakes off the Buffalo Bills there. The Ravens struggled the first couple weeks of the season, just didn't look like the team that everyone thought they were going to be. And the Bills, I know they lost a lot of players. People were talking about that. Everyone's like, oh, the Bills aren't going to be very good. They looked good, and it was flip-flopped last night. I mean, they lost 35-10. Josh Allen went 16 for 29 with 180 yards. Lamar Jackson 13 for 18, 156 yards, 2 touchdowns, and the man, the myth, the legend, King Henry, with 24 carries for almost a yard short of 200 and a touchdown, and it also had some catches, I think, and a receiving touchdown in there as well. So the Ravens finally put it together. They looked really good, and I didn't expect them to look as good as they did with what they've looked like prior.
I mean, talking about playing with a chip on their shoulder. They have something to lose, especially the Bengals kind of ripping back up. They got back on track. Browns are struggling, and Steelers, they lost this week, right? That was the first loss.
They did lose to the Colts.
I mean, Fields played great, but I mean, it's the Ravens is their division to win. So, I mean, they can't really play games. They got to step up, and looks like they did. Absolutely, like Zoltowski said, beating the brakes off of the Bills, which was kind of surprising. Kind of shows that if you shut down Josh Allen, that team goes to shit, and it's kind of alarming and it's kind of worrisome. So
yeah, and they had that stupid double pass that they ran where he lost that fumble. I mean, just I don't know what they were thinking. Maybe they're just trying to get something going. They had some momentum. I think they had just had a turnover or stop, and just threw it all away, losing the ball just like that. I think Josh took a pretty good hit on that too. There was a penalty for unnecessary roughness. Words are hard, but they just didn't look good, and they're a lot better team than what they played last night. But going back to the Ravens, Nutter, I kind of already put some stats out there for you, but your fantasy hero of the week comes from the Ravens, doesn't he?
He does, and he is King Henry, like you were saying. The Ravens, they're going to take the rushing title this year. I don't see any team. Maybe the Commanders will take that over. But
a little slip of the tongue there.
Yeah, a little slip of the tongue. Went back to 1990 for a second. No, Derrick Henry, he put up a big week last week, and he put up an even bigger week this week. They really left him on the field this game. So a pretty outstanding snap percentage for Derrick Henry is probably around 60%, which is what he had last week. He had 59. This week he had 65%. So he was on the field for 65% of the plays for the Ravens. Now they really did again, Lamar did not throw it much. I think he had maybe 18 pass attempts. Let me pull him up here. He had 18 pass attempts, so they're not really throwing the ball like they were in week 1 and week 2. They've found their identity, which is just going to be old school, line up in I formation, get, Derrick Henry, 6'2", 247 pounds, lining up behind the 300-pound fullback Patrick Ricard, and just letting them run the ball down their throats. And that's what they did against a very good Buffalo Bills front seven. You got Ed Oliver there. Von Miller, when he comes in, he's very good as well. So definitely Derrick Henry was the fantasy hero. Now going forward, I believe he can keep this up. And the reason I say that is because the Ravens offensive line is so good that he is just going to find the holes. He's one of the best when it comes to vision. Watching him run last night, he was running with patience, putting his head down, really churning his legs. There was a play there in the red zone when I think he was going for a second rushing touchdown and they didn't get it. And he was so mad at his offensive lineman because they let a couple of those guys through. But Derrick definitely looks like he's playing with a lot more fire this season, at least this early on, especially these last 2 weeks. So, and he did have 3 receptions on 3 targets for 10 yards and another touchdown there. But I mean, Justice Hill as well came in and he played really well in the receiving game. So it's been kind of not a good thing to watch as a Browns fan, seeing the Ravens find their identity, seeing the Steelers start so well, and then seeing the Bengals unfortunately find their identity as well with all their receivers and their quarterback getting on the same page again. But yeah, Derrick Henry, I honestly don't know if he can play above what he did this week, next week, but you got to start him if you have him, obviously. So
I just feel like that guy just doesn't age. I mean, he carried the ball a shit ton in Alabama, and then ever since he was with Tennessee, he was almost averaging 25 plus carries, and now an older, should be almost out of his prime type, especially with all the carries, all the hits, because he's not an elusive back. He's a ground and pound. And he broke off
contact.
Oh yeah, he broke off for that touchdown. He outran everyone by a good 5 yards. So it's just like he just doesn't age. Honestly, might be the most perfect fit with that team there with Lamar, with his elusiveness and quickness, and then you got Hill back there as well. It's just another bruising back to kind of lighten people up, and then here comes this mountain of a man, Henry, who, God forbid, you peek into that hole that's open, you're catching an elbow and a knee. I mean, that is a disgusting tandem they got going on there. Yeah, he just doesn't age. Fountain of youth.
Yeah, I think Lamar is really something that is going to help Derrick Henry going forward as well, because they have to respect his running game as well. So that's just going to take more eyes off of Derrick, because there was some analysis before the game yesterday that they were talking about the Ravens game against the Cowboys, and they were running just a read option. I mean, the line came down on Derrick. Lamar Jackson kept the ball, just went out to the left and he gained a quick 12 yards without even being touched. I mean, I can't imagine being a defensive coordinator trying to scheme against this team right now, just in running game alone. But it looks like it's not gonna stop. And with Lamar's comments at the end of the Cowboys game saying that they don't want to take their foot off the gas, it looks like that is the change that they've made going forward. So
yeah, it's a dangerous combo. Back there's a big 1-2 punch. Excited to see Lamar. I feel like last season we didn't get to see him run a whole lot, and I feel like this year we'll get to see him a little bit more too.
Yeah.
But yeah, then it's like another dynamic duo that we got in the NFC.
You mean the one that's playing right now?
The one that's playing right now. It's going to be between the Lions and the Ravens for the rushing title this year.
Don't count out Barkley.
Don't count out
Barkley.
You know what? I won't count out Barkley, because that man has gotten me a lot of fantasy points, and he's good too.
The only thing we got going on in the offense. So
Derrick Henry hero this week. All right, Fish, who's your fantasy hero for the week? Looks like a running back position player as well.
It's also a running back. I've had him on some fantasy teams. I know what he did back in Philly. He did incredible. When he was with the Lions, he was incredible. Man, he got the the Bears picked him up, and this guy's had a horrible start to a season. Not like the Bears have done anything great, but DeAndre Swift, welcome back. 16 carries for 93 yards on the ground and 1 touchdown. And a staggering, again, I like to use that word again, a staggering 7 of 7 receiving for 72 yards in the air. Essentially put the Bears on his back and carried them to victory over a struggling Rams team. Ended up being 24-18 there. We'll get into the whole Rams thing in a little bit, but it's glad to see Swift back on top. This is what he was normally ready to produce with the Lions. Not only as the running game, but the receiving game as well. He's very effective out of the backfield. We saw the same thing with the Eagles. Unfortunately, they just didn't give him enough touches. But even with the touches that he did get, which was between 10 and 15, he did average, a good amount of yardage. Was rarely less than 10 points fantasy wise. And of course, the receiving game as well. So that's my fantasy here for the week. It's glad to see him turn around. Hopefully, the Bears can turn around and pick up some more W's along the way. But they got to get him the ball. I know that line has struggled, obviously, with Williams' accuracy. They don't really need to double team any receivers right now, but they got to respect the run game. And I don't think the Rams did, and Swift tore them up. So hopefully, coaching-wise, going forward, they get Swift the ball. Again, one of the best players on the team. You got to feed the man. So that's my fantasy hero, DeAndre Swift. Welcome back.
Yeah, I want to talk about that 7 for 7 that you just said. Caleb Williams is looking for that escape valve. Last week it was Cole Kmet. He had 11 targets on 10 receptions on 11 targets for 97 yards and a touchdown. And then this week it was DeAndre Swift with the 7 for 7 for 72, like you said. So Caleb seems like he's getting a little bit more comfortable accepting the fact that he may have to use that escape valve during the games. Now, hopefully that does open up some of the receiving game for the Bears still. You watch DJ Moore out there. It seems like his body language is pretty telling that he's kind of upset with the way things are going. But, I think that the more comfortable Caleb gets, the more the Bears will go. And I think Swift is going to be a beneficiary of that, especially at the backfield.
Yeah, I loved when he was on the Lions. I love to watch him run. He's great then. He was great when he was with the Eagles. He was a lot of fun to watch. Picked him up fantasy. Had him on the bench this week. A big mistake by me. But
Same.
like you said, I mean, he had a rough start, and I was like, maybe he's just kind of hit that point where it's just, the Bears are still in the rebuilding phase. But showed up this week. Might have to start him next week. Who do they play next week? Do you know off the top of your head?
Carolina.
Yeah, he's getting the start. Even though Carolina, I think, is a revitalized team with Andy Dalton back there. But no, he looked good. I hate to see it in a divisional opponent, being in the same division as the Lions. But, I like the guy. So they'll be excited to see what he does going forward.
Good to see him pop off this week for sure.
Yeah. Not on my bench, though.
Who?
Not on my bench, though.
Speaking of who should be on your bench, who's your hero?
Yeah, my hero? I'm going to go with Nico Collins. He went 12 receptions on 15 targets for 151 yards and 1 touchdown. Now, I know when, the Texans got Stephon Diggs, there was a lot of talk of, they already have Tank Dell, they already have Nico Collins. Who's going to be the wide receiver 1? And to me, it's Nico. He's been consistently good. They had a rough week when they played Minnesota, but Minnesota's defense is really good this year so far. And I think he's really established as that long ball guy where he's going to get the ball to get them in the red zone, and then they're going to go to Diggs when they're throwing for the end zone there. I know Joe Mixon was hurt this week, didn't play, so the run game really wasn't there, so they had to go to the air, and Nico stepped up and made some good plays, and 151 yards, that's on 12 catches, that's a real nice stat line right there. I wish he would have had another touchdown or two because I have him in another league, but we'll take it. But he's my fantasy hero for this week.
He's exciting to watch. He really is.
Definitely.
That whole offense is.
Yeah, that CJ Stroud, he looks like he's been in the NFL for years. The Texans really got a winner with him, and the weapons that he has too. I mean, that they made the playoffs last year. I think, correct? I think they won their division.
Yeah, they beat the
Maybe.
Browns in the playoffs.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Hey.
Shout out Joe Flacco.
Yeah. You know what? You missed Joe Flacco. Don't lie to me. But I think they make another. I think they make another run this year. And I'll be watching.
Yeah, they'll go deep.
Sure.
They'll go deep for sure.
Yeah. But we'll go wide receiver still. Flip it over onto the 0 side. Now that I see you got a wide receiver. You want to go ahead and elaborate on that?
I do, yeah. So my fantasy 0, and it extends further from this week. It's actually been his entire first 4 games. Brandon Ayuk. Brandon Ayuk is on the field upwards of 80% of the offensive snaps. You really expect him, especially with Debo being out last week, that he's going to be the guy that steps up. In full PPR formats, he has not scored over 10 points this year. This last week, he only had 2 grabs on 5 targets for 48 yards. He's really been underwhelming. He's been projected around 15 points every week. And this week he had 6 points. Last week he had 9, and then 8, and then 4 in weeks 2 and 1 respectively. So it's really tough to have him in your starting lineup every week. I do still have him in my starting lineup just because, the 49ers are such a high powered offense, and he's supposed to be a big part of that. So
yeah, and they're hurt right now too.
Yeah, they're hurt at the receiving position. Did Debo play?
Debo did play.
He did play.
Yeah, and didn't Ayuk hold out in the preseason and was fighting for a big contract and finally got that big contract?
Yeah, so Ayuk did hold out. He got paid. There's also been some, I guess, issues at practice with him. I don't really put too much on it, but I guess he wore the wrong thing to practice this week, and Kyle Shanahan said something about it, and I guess he threw a fit. I don't know if he's just frustrated with, his performance throughout the year, but surely as a fantasy manager, I am. So hopefully he gets it figured out. He's not had over 48 yards in one game this year. He's tied it twice. That's just not what you normally see from Brandon Ayuk.
Go ahead. No, sorry.
I was going to say last year, yards per game, it looks like he averaged, well, it doesn't really give me an average here.
It almost makes you wonder, though, because, we've seen a trend. I'll pull the numbers for the next podcast and stuff, but again, it goes back to you pay these guys this max contract that they want, and all of a sudden they don't do shit. So I don't know if it's a contract curse, kind of like the Madden curse, where you see these guys like Jalen Hurts, Joe Burrow. You see all these guys get, cool, 4 years, $250 million, outside of Patty Mahomes, right? But you see all these guys get these big, massive contracts, and all of a sudden the following year, you can almost assume that it's going to be a downward spiral. They're not going to produce to what they did the previous years before. And it's a big problem. And if I was an NFL owner of a team, I'd be a little leery on trying to give these guys these max contracts, knowing that it's been a downward trend of guy gets paid, he either gets hurt or just doesn't produce. Now, with Ayuk, he's with the 49ers, they got a plethora of weapons there, so it's not a major concern. But at the same time, what are we paying this guy to do when I can throw a rookie in there and him produce the same? So it's just interesting to look at, kind of keeping an eye on a lot of those big contracts and what they've been doing over, since they got it, and then what they had before. So I'll post some numbers from the next podcast, just kind of elaborate a little bit more on that. But it's just interesting to watch, that's for sure.
Yeah, he had 1,342 receiving yards last year over 16 games. So I guess he missed a game here or there, but that's almost 84 yards a game. So him only getting 48 yards a game right now is not what you paid him for. It's very, very, I know that a lot of that's probably because of Debo's injuries last year, but I don't know, it's very discouraging to see his performance this year, for sure. So hopefully he turns it around. Hopefully he takes after Amari Cooper and becomes a fantasy hero next week, but we'll see. Zoltowski. Let's get into your fantasy zero.
Oh, fantasy zero for me. Oh, switching it up. I thought you were gonna go for Fish. My fantasy zero for this week is a guy we've already talked about, but just to bring it up again, Josh Allen. 16 for 29 with 180 yards, 5 carries with only 21 yards, and he lost that one fumble we talked about. It just didn't look good. It just was making bad decisions. He had one really nice play where he did scramble out the pocket, almost got to the sideline, and just threw a dot down his receivers, like a 40-yard sling. And it looked good. That was the only good play that I saw. That's a guy, who normally can use his legs, get around. He normally gets at least 1 to 2 rushing touchdowns a game, and then throws for another one. Even with all his missing weapons, the Bills have looked good, and he just had, maybe it was just an off week. They played in Baltimore. I don't know what it would have been, but for me, just not what I needed as a manager. Not what you want to see if you're a Bills fan. A lot of people said he's making his MVP run this year. This was not a performance that's going to help that. So I just, we'll have to see. Hopefully he bounces back next week and put him on the hero side. I think I may have already, so I think someone's already had him as a hero this year, possibly.
Yeah,
but,
possibly. We'd have to go back and look.
Yeah, we'll go back and look, but I just put him in a zero this week. But I don't know. You guys got any comments on that? Thoughts?
Yeah, I had a little parlay last night. This is just a personal thing for Josh Allen to have 200 passing yards, and it was the last leg of the parlay I needed to hit. And going into the fourth quarter, he had 180, and he unfortunately finished the game with 180 because I guess the Bills played so bad that they ended up putting, who's their backup, Matt Barkley? Is that who's there? They ended up putting Barkley in, I think.
Yeah, I mean they were losing. They were losing. Ravens had like 35 points. They didn't want him to get hurt because he got rocked like twice. And I know he's a tough guy, but still, I just wasn't it. Wasn't gonna hit it. Wasn't gonna hit 200 yards. That's why he's a zero nut.
Yep, he's a zero this week for sure.
So, but Fish, I'd like to hear your fantasy zero for this week.
It's fantasy zero this week, but it is a rare fantasy zero that this guy, this running back specifically, typically is a hero, is a consistent ball player. Again, running the ball is incredible, receiving the ball is incredible. I'm going to go with Breece Hall this week. He had 10 carries for only 4 yards, had 5 targets for 2 receptions for 14 yards. Now, overall, the Jets team just looked horrible. And Breece has had, over the years, he's had, the 1 or 2 games where, for some reason, the weeks before he'll pop off and do really well, and then it's just a dud week. All players go through that, right? They played a stout Denver line, I get it. But on the other hand, the counterpart, Braylon Allen, who has been fighting for chances, kind of got his chances there. He rushed for 8 times for 34 yards. And only caught his only target for 12 yards. Not much better, but fantasy-wise, Braylon Allen finished with 5.6 points and Breece Hall only 3.8. I don't anticipate Breece Hall going forward to be a bench player, or you should be leery about starting him against any team. Absolutely not. Breece Hall is going to do Breece Hall things. Now, it all depends on Aaron Rodgers, if he has another down week or whatever it may be. Again, your best player on the field, feed the man. You got to get rhythm going. Obviously, the 10 carries, probably could have squeezed in a couple more carries or a couple more receptions there, some easy things. You got to get that confidence going to get that. All it takes is one 10-yard run to get that confidence up, get the drive, the momentum going, and then he can pop off. He's got breakaway speed. We've seen him run countless 50-yard dashes to the end zone. All it takes is one play. So my fantasy zero this week, unfortunately, I know 100% of people started him. You may have lost your week. this week in fantasy because of him. But it is a down week. I anticipate him going next week. Now, he is playing in London, and he is playing a very, very stout Vikings team. Again, 9:30 a.m. are those time slots for London. But again, don't seem to have. I don't think he'll have similar stats as this week as he will next week. But I don't expect him to pop off for 250 yards and 4 touchdowns. I think he's going to have another very, very tough matchup. Home crowd is not there. We all know that kind of plays, a little bit into the atmosphere there and the momentum as well. So that's my fantasy zero this week. Breece Hall, unfortunately, hopefully next week we can step it up and become a hero. So that's what I got for my zeros.
Yeah, Liz says that Aaron Rodgers is too old to be playing football, so just give it to Breece Hall and let him run it. Like, I just had a freak out. Thankfully, I was muted, but yeah, Monday Night Football again. David Montgomery, just an absolute amazing play. I don't know if you guys saw it, but he catch the ball, just trucked a guy and broke it open. Sorry.
I did not see it, but
oh, dude.
I saw your reaction.
Yeah. Sorry, I was trying to contain myself. That was. Oof.
Yeah, Fish. Just to piggyback off you, I'm surprised he didn't get more chances with the ball. If weather conditions were that poor, you would think, let's just run the rock. We have 2 really good running backs. Him and is it Braylon Allen?
Yep.
Is that the kid's name? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So you'd think they would just hand it off a little bit more, but seems like that didn't happen this week. Hopefully the Jets figure it out for this Sunday, this early game. Do you have any worries about playing surfaces? Now, I know we talked a little bit about the Brazil game. It's just not the same grass overseas, it seems like, whether that be in Brazil or in England, just because it's not really used to the amount of mass that's on it. Any worries there about players sliding around or, slipping? Hopefully no injuries, obviously, but
remind me of the Spurs stadium. Is it grass or is it turf?
I think all the stadiums over there are grass.
Okay, that's what I figured. I mean, you're always going to have that worry. You're always going to worry about him cutting to the outside and doing that quick little shake and then in. Everybody watches that knee like, okay, please, not this one. I think going forward for any stadium, doesn't matter if it's turf or grass, as we've seen a lot of unfortunate injuries. They just, sidebar, the Lions just did the Philly, and I'm kind of pissed about it. So,
yeah, let's go. We love that. I have Jared Goff. It is, and also comment on the stadium. It says, now this is Wikipedia. It says the surface for NFL is Turf Nation. So they could be playing on turf.
Okay. I mean, regardless if it's turf, grass, concrete, gravel, I mean, you're going to be worried about those quick cuts. It's an unfamiliar stadium. They might use the same grass or same type of grass, wherever they get it from, but it's an unfamiliar stadium. We're just not used to the conditions. We don't know what they do prior, if they put water on it, 30 minutes beforehand or an hour beforehand. The weather, the sun that beats down on the field, we're just unsure. Obviously, any player going into it, especially any big-name player, we're just going to be a little leery of, that non-contact injury. Now, again, knock on wood, hopefully it doesn't happen. But like Nutter said, we've kind of seen a trend of a lot of these overseas games, and then someone gets hurt. There's been a lot of stipend of, we keep playing overseas, we got to take better care of our players, which is true. Absolutely true. But unfortunately, it just doesn't seem that it's going to be something that's going to happen this Sunday. I'm not saying an injury is going to happen, but the likelihood does increase when we're not playing on our NFL stadium turfs or grass. So obviously, a little bit of concern there, but fingers crossed, no injuries going forward for any of those London or out of town game or out of the country games. So
now I agree with you. Don't want to see any injuries and everything. Just a little bit here on that. So Tottenham is their Premier League, so that's the correct me if I'm wrong. That's the top in Europe, right? It's like the best league you can be in.
For
Premier League, yeah,
it's Premier, and then like Champions, and then I don't even know what the third one's. I think I know that from Ted Lasso. But being in that the highest caliber league, I'm hoping that the field's going to be better. They're more money. I mean, looking at the stadium, it's a beautiful stadium. It's like, and I'm hoping this could be a benefit, because I don't know what the Brazilian soccer leagues are, what type of the league field they were playing on. Maybe it was one of those lower leagues where they have the funds to take care of it that well, and that's why we saw a lot of that in that Eagles Packers game. So I know they were sliding around a lot, but could make a difference. Hopefully it does. And hopefully we see just a fantastic game. I personally think that the time change, the jet lag is going to be killer. I don't know when the teams are leaving, when the teams are getting there, and then that 9:30 a.m. start is just, I think it's just going to be. It might throw a couple guys off their game, and it's just different. You have that routine of, oh hey, I'm playing at 1, or I'm playing at 4:30 or 3:30, or I'm playing at night at 9:30 in the morning. And I gotta wake up at like 6. It's just different.
Yeah, but you also got to think that the sport-wise, they have their grass. They're soccer players and football players. If you're watching from overseas, they don't make the quick adjustments or quick cuts like NFL players do. It's more of a dance, pass the ball around, look for that one hole, and then attack. So they're not making those quick pivots or cuts and dices to get to that ball or get to that player, cut him off, whatever it may be. So that's my concern going, especially playing overseas. And again, I don't know if the whole Brazil thing, if it was a lower league that they had or whatever it may be, but the sports are two completely different. We don't know if the grass is over there that they use is better catered to the distance runs, the over the top ball, stuff like that, compared to us where it's plant your foot, cut across, find that hole, dance back. It's just two different sports. I think either way you see it, I think regardless, unless we have our NFL people go over there and assess the grass and figure it out, that there's always going to be problems. Just because the way we play the game compared to, we're really the only ones that really play NFL. But compared to the rest of the world that plays soccer or football, it's just completely two different things. I don't know if the grass is going to benefit them more because they're not making those cuts. But then again, I'm not a grass person. I couldn't tell you if the bluegrass of Boise is going to trend better than the grass at the link. So I don't know. It's definitely something to look at, definitely something to watch and be cautious of going forward for any NFL player. So again, hopefully no injuries happen, but it's definitely something that's always in the back of somebody's mind, especially these big players. I mean, Jamar Chase did a smart thing. He took out an insurance policy on himself. Might not be a bad idea for a lot of these players going forward, playing overseas. I know it's only 1 or 2 games a year, but that 1 or 2 games could be the end of your career. So just something to think about,
Yeah, it's also just a big difference in the sizes of dudes that are playing.
100%.
Except for a couple maybe center backs that might be a little bit larger. Soccer guys are tiny, man. I mean, you look at Messi, you look at Ronaldo, Messi especially, they're little guys, and they're athletic, everything like that, but it's just a different type of body composition that you're seeing out there.
Sure. I do want to see Aaron Donald play soccer, though. I think that'd be very entertaining.
It would be cool.
Just a lineman league of soccer. I'm here for it.
I'm in.
Definitely, yeah.
So in.
But Zoltowski, this kind of, makes sense for your concern here.
Yeah.
Get into it.
So my concern is what is known as the MetLife Monster. Probably heard about this a lot last year, especially with Aaron Rodgers coming out game 1. I think it was the first or second play of the game and tears his ACL on something that really wasn't that big of a hit or crazy. But since they replaced that turf in 2020, there have been 15 injuries. A lot of big names out there, mainly being ACL tears, and then I know Micah Parsons just got hit with a high ankle sprain playing there on Thursday. But the name, being Solomon Thomas tore his ACL, Nick Bosa torn ACL, Matt Pert, offensive tackle, torn ACL, Achilles, another torn ACL, another torn. The list goes on. At what point, does the NFL need to come in and be like, oh hey, look at the data. I mean, you're seeing in 2022 you had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 injuries. 2023 there was 2. Another 7-21 from one field. And this is two teams' home stadium. You got the Giants and the Jets that both play there. So there's a lot of teams that are coming in there, and they talk about it. They say that the field is just crap and it's horrible and they hate it. So at what point does the NFL need to step in and really look at the turf and probably change it out again for something better, if not going back to natural grass?
Yeah, I think every playing surface in the NFL should be the same, and it should all be grass. Now, I understand domes exist, but even the Cardinals, they play in a dome. They have the system that actually rolls their field out.
Thank you for mentioning that. I was literally about to look up who that was. I couldn't remember, but yeah, domes can do it.
To allow it to get sunlight. There's a lot of domes that can open up now. You think about Jerry World, you think about the Texans Stadium, the new Falcon Stadium can open in the top as well. And even now, a lot of the domes are also clear on top. So you look at the Viking Stadium, SoFi as well. They're all, I don't know if they're glass tops, but, they let natural light in. And it's the same with Lucas Oil Stadium for the Indianapolis Colts as well. So definitely need some sort of, they harp on player safety so much all the time. And then they send these teams overseas to play on, things surfaces they're not familiar with, or, the MetLife Monster, where there's that horrible turf that a lot of players have gotten injured on, like Zoltowski was saying. It's just something that needs to be addressed for sure, especially if they care about player safety that much. And I think the rest of us, I think we all had injuries as our concern this week.
Yes, a lot of injuries.
So, Fish, why don't you go ahead and talk about your concerns as well?
Yeah, my concern is a doozy, right? Not to get so passionate about it, but as an Eagles fan, it is, and Zoltowski and Doug can attest to this because they sit next to me every Sunday. It's a roller coaster of emotions. The Eagles as a whole are very, very concerning. Players-wise, they picked up a bunch of great ball players. They got people from, past to stay outside of Jason Kelce. It's the same team, but improvements. We drafted smart. We picked up the right. We've got Saquon Barkley, who's running behind the best offensive line he's ever had. I don't know. It's just so frustrating watching them play. Obviously, injuries plagued us this week. We played the Bucs. Baker Mayfield absolutely tore us a new one. Losing AJ and Devontae Smith was very, very critical. I know Darius Slay kind of limped off for a little bit too. He just didn't seem like he was fully healed from last week's injury as well. I think it was his foot or his ankle or something. So he was hobbling a little bit, but Hurts, I don't know if it's the play calling or if it's Hurts. Again, he got that big contract. He took us to the Super Bowl, gets paid, and now we're in a spiral. I don't know if they're utilizing him. He doesn't run as much as he used to. So far this season, Hurts he's had 90 completions on 132 throws, 68.2 completion percentage, which is not good. He's not running it enough. Bryce Huff, we just picked him up for the Jets, essentially made a swap. They get an aging Hassan Riddick, who wants a shit ton of money. We get a young Bryce Huff, who's done well with the Jets. Paid him about $50 million. Good news is he just got his first tackle this past week. Only took 4 weeks. And again, I don't know if that's coaching on the defensive end or Sirianni, still having a hand in the pot there. But it's just not a good thing there. We can't be paying a young guy that much and not blitz or play ticky-tack football. The defense as a whole has been abysmal outside of a couple of shining young stars and some new faces. Zach Bond and Quinton Mitchell have done incredibly so far. I know Jalen Carter had a great game last week when he wasn't double-teamed. It's just a matter of getting pressure. Obviously, we got a big man, Jordan Davis, down there. If him and Carter get doubled and we don't have any pressure off the edge, obviously the quarterback doesn't matter who you could have back there. Daniel Jones can carve us up right now. Defense as a whole so far, we've only gotten 6 sacks and 2 interceptions. Now that's near the bottom. I know watching this past week, I think there was one play we missed about 10 tackles. We need to go back to the fundamentals. Fundamentals is what's killing us right now. Now, good news is going into this week, we are on a bye. Sirianni came out and stated that he talked with Vic Fangio, our defensive coordinator, had a sit down with him, discuss what defensively we need to do differently. I know defense has been a struggle as of lately, but it also doesn't help when we go 3 and out constantly and put the defense right back on the field. Offensively, Sirianni needs to stay away from that. I think he's nothing but a cheerleader with tutu and pom-poms. And Jeff Lurie, the owner, I think is starting to realize that. I know the fans are very, very passionate. Again, follow all kinds of sport pages, and it's the same things over and over that people behind the screen are recognizing. We're all in unison saying, hey, this is what needs to be fixed. This is what we're doing differently. And it's the same shit week in, week out. Jalen saying, hey, I got to play better. It's on me. Or Darius saying, hey, I didn't mean to get burned. I got you guys next week. It's not a good thing. Like, yeah, sure. Every once in a while when you say that, cool. But it's been an ongoing thing since last year. All of us are sick of it. You know, something's got to change. Hopefully going into this bye week, we do a mental reset, figure everything out, and get back on track, especially with the players and stats that we have. We should not be 2-2. We just shouldn't. And the only saving grace that we have on this team, and a guy that's been playing his heart out, even though we had a drop catch a couple weeks ago, that supposedly, in air quotes, cost us the game. It didn't. It didn't help, but just didn't cost us the game. Saquon Barkley. That guy, I can't talk enough about that guy. I haven't seen an energetic player or running back since Shady McCoy and Brian Westbrook. That guy is exciting to watch. When he gets the ball, you know he's running hard. So far this year, for the first 4 games, he's got 73 carries for 435 yards, 6 yards per carry, by the way, with 4 touchdowns, and then 12 receptions through the air for 85 yards and another touchdown. I looked at the stats. If it isn't for him, we're 0-4. My concern as a whole is if we don't do a mental reset, obviously with the Commanders playing extremely well, Dallas is on a groove. I mean, hell, even the Giants are kind of finding themselves now. It wouldn't surprise me that we're going to keep hearing the same phrases. It's on me. I got to play better. Coaching's not it, whatever it may be, that we're going to end up at the bottom of the table. I mean, it's an absolute joke to see a wasted talent. It reminds me of when Vince Young said we had the dream team, and then we went like 4-13. Yeah. So again, you know, Nnamdi Asomugha, we picked up all these great ball players on paper, a hell of a team. We got everything covered. We drafted smart. We're ready to go, and then we just don't click. It's like everyone's playing for themselves. And again, I don't know if it's the coaching I hate going back to it, but something's got to change. I keep saying, I don't really think Sirianni's the coach. I think he's the cheerleader of the team. Like, you got to have that guy in the locker room to keep everything together. But Philly's a different breed. It's a different city. You got to have someone with Philly grit to be a head coach. Someone's got to say, you know, F this. This is what's going on. I'm pissed. We're changing it now. Not so much, oh, hey, we're going to keep improving week in, week out. We'll do okay. It's not it. That's the missing piece. It wasn't it with Carson Wentz when he didn't have the locker room. Jalen's got the locker room right now, but there's no emotion out of him. We need someone to, you know, be pissed in the locker room. You see Tom Brady all the time. Great competitor. Super Bowl. You know, plethora of Super Bowls. Arguably one of the best quarterbacks to play. If he throws an interception or things are not going his way, he's yelling at the O-line. He's throwing an iPad. I need to see that. I think the players need to see that, seeing, okay, got it. That's on me. I see where you're coming from. I see where you're coming from. I'm going to pick it up now. Not just so much talking about it and then carry it on next week and getting blown out again. It's the same. We're in that loop of okay, yeah, we're gonna get better. Sure, it's all happiness and all this other shit. We're not a blossoming flower. That's not the city of Philly. You got to have Philly grit. Someone's got to be in your face yelling at you. That's how we play better. And there's no emotion from Jalen when he throws an interception or coughs it up. I think he's nearing 30 turnovers since last year, which is arguably the most in the league. Something's got to change. Get pissed. Throw something. Yell at somebody. That's what the fans need to see. That's what we want to see to change shit around. We feed off our atmosphere. You get angry, we get angry, we're in it together. It's not so much we get angry, we're yelling at people, and then it's the press conference of, hey, that's on me. We're going to get better. We're going to improve next week. No. It's almost like a Bill Belichick. No, we fucking suck. We need to play this better. That's my concern, is the whole Phillies organization. We've seen them bang trash cans outside of Philly Stadium with Bradbury's name on it. We're a passionate city. We understand that we're not going to win every game, but holy shit, we are not losing to Dallas 2 times, and we're not losing to the Commanders 2 times. And if we split with the Giants, I think the city might burn. It's going to be a big problem going forward if we don't wake up out of this bye week. So,
yeah, it's almost like you guys need a Jason Kelce out there.
We need a Jason Kelce. We need a Philly grit. Someone's got to have Philly grit coaching and is not afraid to get in someone's face and yell at them or bench them, whatever it may be. It's too much rah-rah cheering. It doesn't work. Like, yeah, you get the players buy-in, but they're not playing to their max potential. You're telling me they're paying Bryce Huff $50 million to get his first tackle? Honestly, I'd throw Zoltowski out there. I bet you he gets a tackle.
Yeah, I'm giving you 100% every play, Fish. We're all passionate about our teams, but man, I feel bad. I love listening to you talk about the Eagles because you can just hear the love that you have for this team. And I mean, I was excited to watch them this year. You know, you guys got Saquon. You know, you picked up some good people on defense, and it's been a disappointment in that it sucks. The Eagles are a team I've always liked. You know, I don't know why. Maybe it's because I absolutely hate Pittsburgh, whether it's hockey, football, whatever. Mm-hmm. But I mean, just you get me riled up, and I always hear you when we're at football. You know, Sirianni's got to go. You're calling for his head at least 10 times a day, man. And when they're playing, when we're there, you know, and I can only imagine what you're like at home, because we're in public, so you know you got a little bit of a filter. But if you're at home watching the Eagles, it's probably just rough.
I mean, what I would say, I hopefully we get to go to an Eagles game this year. They're playing the Steelers at home, which would be great to go to the Link. I haven't been there since I was a kid, but one thing aren't they
playing the Bengals in Cincinnati too?
They are, but here's the thing, right? It's not the same, right?
No, it's not. It's not. Yeah, you're right.
I want to be. This is what I missed about going home. You know, being on the East Coast. You know, we moved away when I was a kid, but now that I have money and I'm an adult, I would love to be.
Careful! I don't think any of us are actually adults, man.
Well, I mean, you know, chronologically we're adults.
Legally, we're adults.
But I would love to be in a bar with the same fans that are like me, where we'll cheer for one guy and then we'll rip his head off the next play.
You said something similar to that while we were watching the game Sunday, because there was a lot of Eagles fans at the bar we were at. And
yeah, there was like a whole table of them.
There was
none. I stared a guy in his optical lenses, and he looked at me like I had lobsters crawling out of my ears. Like, I'm wearing an Eagles. Say bleed green, man. Say something. It's just not the same.
Fly Eagles, fly. Go Birds.
They're not from the East Coast, and I miss. I would love to go to a bar back home and feel that atmosphere of those. I mean, no, you could attest to it when you go to the Browns games. Zach, when you go to Detroit and watch the Lions,
dude.
Like, I mean, there's an atmosphere you miss in lust for.
There's a bar that we would go to, and I remember taking Liz there when we went to the Red Wings game. It's called Nemo's. They have shuttles to the games, and I think you have to buy a drink to get a ticket. But I mean, you go in there, and it's the city of Detroit. You know, it's a staple. It's where everyone goes. If you're not going to the game, you're going to Nemo's. And, you know, if you are going to the game, you might probably go to Nemo's too, so you don't got to pay for parking. But be Detroit, now that we're finally back on the upswing, I've seen that city go through the worst of the worst, being the first team to go 0-16. And now, I mean, even we can't do the podcast when the Lions play on Monday night because I am just so locked in on this game. I'm sorry. It's wild. You get Kenneth Walker touchdown, and then the next play for you, Fish, it's good for you. The next play, the Lions get the ball back. You get J-Mo going on a 70-yard touchdown. He's having his breakout year. Called it earlier. And I've seen the Eagles can do it. They have the talent. They have the people. They just gotta figure it out.
It's frustrating to watch. It really, really is. So.
Yeah, Fish, you talk about leadership, and I do believe Sirianni is in the hot seat for sure. But when it comes to player leadership, you lost two huge pieces this offseason. And I don't mean in terms of play, I just means in terms of leadership, and that's Fletcher Cox and Jason Kelce.
You lost the heart. You lost the heart of the team.
Yep, you did. The heart of the team is gone. You want to see a guy like Lane Johnson. It's not really his personality to step up like that, but definitely the Eagles are playing much worse than I thought that they would, and I think that that's a big part of it. There needs to be some sort of players-only meeting. Somebody needs to step up. Somebody needs to figure it out, and hopefully it happens for you. I really hope for that, but I don't know, man.
Yell at somebody.
Watching the body language on Sunday on your team it's not pretty. It just seemed so defeated out there.
It's like they weren't ready for Sunday football. Like they woke up and like, oh shit, we have a game today.
Yeah.
Even the announcers were saying, who was it? Rex Ryan was going in on them. That guy didn't have a great career with the Jets, but it's bad when he is very vocal about a team that just looks lapsadaisical out there. They just look like they're just going through the motions. There's no fundamentals. There's no heart. And I know we lost Cox and Kelce. There's got to be someone in that locker room to step up. And it's not Hurts. It's never been his personality. Sirianni's just been the cheerleader there. It's just been
it should be as a quarterback though. You're the leader you're the field general of that offense. You gotta get in there and get those guys fired up. I think Saquon's the only one I see who gets excited on the sidelines after they score or anything like that. He's out there, but he's busting his ass every play. They should just give him the ball. Don't even let Hurts throw it. Just give Saquon the ball and let him run it 100 times a game. You probably win.
Yeah, but also here, I'm glad you bring up an interesting thing. Last thing before we move on to nuts, but I know that we were missing AJ and Devonta Smith, obviously with Jahan Dotson being the number one there, and we got a couple other rookies in there. The crazy stat is that Baker threw to his receiving core at least 30 times. We threw to our receiving core 12 the entire game. We had 0 yards in the first quarter. So again, it goes back to, is Sirianni still coaching? I know we just got this offensive coordinator. We have Kellen Moore. We have Fangio there. They're supposed to be great, tandem duo. We're excited. Does Sirianni still have a hand in it? Because we're just leaving points out there again still. I don't know. It's just, I could go on for you got another 4 hours. I can talk about all this, but it's just, it doesn't make any sense. And it's bad when me and millions of other Eagles fans are saying the same shit, but then it's like no one's reading any or listening to any of us. And they'll hear about it. The stadium is not quiet about it. Neither the signs that people are making. So, God, hopefully they don't bring Santa around Christmas this year on the link, because man, those beer bottles are going to get heavy and the snowball. So Sirianni better watch out. Wear that stupid hat of his. He's going to get one slung by his face too. But yeah, again, my concern, Eagles. I can't do it anymore. I'm fired up.
This is an award-winning rant right there. Holy moly.
I would listen
please
to.
Take it away.
I would listen to the Eagles show by Fish all day, every day. Just saying.
Please take it away.
I'm going to go into my concern. I'm going to be very brief here. One concern I have, Rashee Rice going forward. We all saw Patrick Mahomes throw that interception, then immediately run to tackle the guy, and Rashid Rice just happened to be behind the defender or the person who had the ball. At that point, he dove into his knees. He's already been ruled out for week 5, which is not good news. They are conducting an MRI and other tests. They're going to see what happens with his knee, but the immediate thought across NFL Twitter was torn ACL, which I hope is not the case. But Andy Reid did come out and talk about the other guys that are going to have to step up. And fantasy-wise, if you're looking at someone to, not make up for the Rashid Rice role, but kind of step up, you should look at Xavier Worthy. You should look at Juju Smith-Schuster and Sky Moore as 2 receivers he said should get more playing time in the stead of Rashid Rice. So that is something to think about. But my real concern for, the Browns going forward, this is my real concern, is the Browns injuries are happening, it seems like, all across the offensive line, which is just impacting every aspect of the offensive game. Wyatt Teller was just placed on injured reserve, which means he's missing at least 4 weeks. Our starting tackles, Jedrick Wills, sorry, that name's always hard for me to say, and Jack Conklin have both been out for multiple weeks. We did end up losing our starting center, who I believe was kicked out to guard this week because of Wyatt Teller's injury. And he was playing, or I'm sorry, Teller got hurt this week. We had our starting left guard playing left tackle, Ethan Pochis, our starting center, playing left guard, and then a backup center in already. So any way you cut it, the Browns are down 4 starting offensive linemen, with the 32-year-old Joel Bitonio, the only one that is part of the starting offensive line. And they have placed him back at his left guard role. But it's definitely impacting the game. Deshaun is, as much as I hate him, he's playing decent as much as he can. Going back and watching the game over, he, did what he could with what he had. There's still a lot of issues with receivers catching the ball. Amari Cooper had a really bad tip drill that went into an interception on Sunday. And, it's just nothing good is happening for the Browns right now. David Njoku's still out. They keep talking about having Nick Chubb. They're going to open his 21-day practice window on Wednesday. They expect him to practice in some capacity. And, I'm thinking, why even have him try to do that right now? Because this offensive line is just going to get him killed.
Talking about offensive line, sorry to interrupt, but real quick, I talked about this with Caleb a week or 2 ago. The same thing, he's not getting that protection. He's rushed. He's making bad throws. I think Deshaun's in that same situation, where he's just another Kenny Walker touchdown. Where he's just, he can't do anything. He doesn't have any time to throw the ball. And, Ford is doing what he can, but if there's no holes, if, the linemen are, getting beat, and you got D linemen in the backfield before he can do anything and even evaluate the situation, you're not going to get anywhere.
Yeah, it's definitely tough sledding for the Browns right now. And I believe next week, let me see who they play. I'm not sure. Next week they play the Commanders, so it's probably going to be another loss. But yeah, it's just been a really tough experience as a Browns fan right now to watch this team try and go out there and play and get stuff done, and it just seems like they can't do it. So that's my concern going forward. The health of the offensive line for the Browns is something that needs to be addressed. My brother and I keep talking. We're shocked that David Bakhtiari has not been at least brought into the facility to work out or, go through a physical or anything like that. I believe he would be able to pick up on any playbook pretty quickly, but I don't know. I'm not sure what they're waiting for. But
How
we
old is
shall
Bakhtiari?
see.
How old is he?
Bakhtiari, he's probably over 30. I'm not 100% sure. Let me look him up. I can never spell his name.
He's
Yeah.
33
He's 33. Okay.
as of
No.
today. Happy birthday.
I'd rather have a 33-year-old David Bakhtiari than, sorry to call you out, but James Hudson at the left tackle position, especially. He's been abysmal. So, yeah, but that's our week 4 review. That was long and passionate there at the end. So,
A great rant from
Vision,
Fish.
appreciate
you.
You
Sorry.
doing okay, buddy?
We're good. We're good.
Yeah.
Blood pressure is only, 180 over 4. So,
Oh man.
yeah, tell me about those numbers, huh?
Yeah.
Hey, Kenny Walker scoring for you. That should help.
I think I've already lost in that way. I don't even care anymore. I don't even care. What's the next subject? What's the next topic?
Games
so
of the
we're going
week.
to go into our week 5 preview. This is where we pick games of the week. Let's hope we keep picking good games. I'm very happy about the games we picked last week. But I'm going to kick this one off. I am a sucker for divisional games, especially divisional games where both teams are playing well. They just always seem to have a little bit more bite, a little bit more passion in them for sure. So the one I'm picking is going to be Tampa Bay at Atlanta. It's a Thursday night football game this week. So, maybe we'll have another good Thursday night game again. If they keep doing the division games on Thursday nights, I think that's going to be successful for Amazon. Amazon, you can hire me. I will schedule those games for you. But, there's a lot of advantages for both teams in this league or this game. The quarterback play, even though Kirk has kind of found his footing, it looks like the advantage this week or for this matchup is going to go to Baker Mayfield. He's been playing really well. 8 touchdowns on the year with 2 interceptions. Kirk has 4 touchdowns with 4 interceptions right now. Even though both of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers running backs are playing well, I would say the advantage there is in Atlanta with Bijan Robinson. He's a absolute dog. I don't believe that the rush defense for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers is very good. Sorry, I'm talking and kind of trying to look over here at the stats together, but the thing that I think this is really going to come down to is time of possession, which when I look at the breakdown for the Buccaneers, they edge out time of possession against their opponents 31 minutes to 29, which is really balanced. But when I look at the Falcons, their time of possession is only 24 minutes a game. So I think this is really going to be, who holds onto the ball the most. Obviously, who makes the least amount of turnovers, least amount of penalties. And I think Tampa Bay is probably going to take this game, even though they're playing in Atlanta. I think Baker's going to find his receivers like he has been doing. He seems to be finding Chris Godwin a lot and then always finds Mike Evans in the end zone for a touchdown. And, if this game does end up going down to the wire and it turns up into a kicking match, Atlanta might edge him out there with Young Hoku. That guy was almost my fantasy hero for the week because he put up 22 points in our format for fantasy kickers, but I know a lot of folks don't play kickers in fantasy, so I opted out of that. But yeah, this game, I think it's going to be very good. Really not sure if there's going to be... Do you guys have any idea what the line is on this game, the Vegas line? Let me look it up.
No, yeah, this game I think will be a good one. Kirk's kind of finding his groove with his new offense coming back. Baker's played really well here lately. I know that kind of stings for you, Nut, because could have kept him on the Browns. Could have been doing this for you guys instead of Deshaun getting massages. But honestly, excited to watch this game. And hey, if it's a good game, I know we'll be down there in Florida when they play again. We were talking about going to the game. Kind of decided to go watch an NHL game instead. But if this game turns out to be a battle, I might want to watch a rematch in person. I think that'd be pretty cool. So
Yeah, I think that would definitely be a good game to go to.
yeah. So
Sure.
Thursday is going to be honestly. I'm going to watch it. Obviously, we always watch Thursday Night Football. I'll probably watch it with you guys while we're playing Overwatch or something. But it'll definitely be something I'm paying attention to see, hey, do I want to buy tickets to this game now before they spike because it's a good game, or we'll see.
So the early line here is the Falcons are 1.5-point favorites, with the over/under for both teams going to be 43.5. Now, I think that the reason the over/under is a little low is just because it seems to be the trend with Thursday night games. It seems like either it's a blowout or both of the teams just don't really score much, just because they don't have as much time to prep and recover and all that stuff. But I would definitely think about, if you're a betting person, taking the Buccaneers there at 1.5-point underdogs. So that is my game of the week for week 5. Fish, you're staying in the NFL, so why don't we kick it over to you?
Cool. Yeah, absolutely. So my game of the week I'm looking at is a struggling Rams team versus the Packers. Jordan Love came back this past week from his injury that he had in week 1. Looked good. They let a fierce comeback. Unfortunately, fell a little short. Rams, that team is interesting. It's something to kind of watch about. Packers, obviously, going into this one, hopefully keeping the same momentum, same energy. Could be a trap game, though. Rams have not played well recently throughout this, the first 4 weeks. Obviously taking a hit on Puka Nacua being out. Cooper Kupp doing Cooper Kupp things and being out at least 12 games this year. JK is coming back week 7, supposedly, as of right now. They're not going to rush anything. They have a bye week on week 6 there. It's just it's just more injuries, right?
So many injuries.
It's an interesting thing to see, right? So Rams next 3 games, right? They get the bye week next week, so hopefully, again, just like the Eagles thing, they kind of do a soft reset. Kupp comes back week 7. Puka Nacua is targeting week 8. So week 7 they're playing Vegas. Then they're week 8, a tough one with the Vikings, and then finishing at Seattle for week 9 there. It could be something worth watching. Obviously, Kyren Williams has done incredible things right there for that team. He's put them on his back. Last 2 weeks, he's combined for 43 rushing attempts at 183 yards, 3 touchdowns, adding 6 receptions for 37 yards and a touchdown. Matt Stafford doing great things still. Still trying to find his groove. He doesn't have that all-star game breaker receiver, but Tutu Atwell has been on the cusp as of lately. Has been his target. 8 reception on 11 target for 175 yards, so he's doing well there. No touchdowns, unfortunately. Stafford, it could be an aging thing. It could be past injuries are affecting him. Whatever it may be, he's only had 1 touchdown in the last 3 weeks. Them playing behind most of the time, you figure would kind of help that stat. Unfortunately, the Rams are just 1-3 going into the season. If they lose next week, they have the bye. And then, you got to assume that they're going to lose to the Vikings, probably Seattle. Vegas is going to be a toss-up. What do they do with Stafford? And I know we talked about this on the previous podcast, but what do they do with Stafford? What do they do with Kupp? We're looking at the Dolphins right now, and that team is abysmal. They barely put up any type of points with any type of quarterback that they have there. Does Stafford give one last hurrah and give it an attempt down there? I know we talked about that previously, but damn, from last week to this week, kind of looks to be a little bit more of a true fashion there. It would make the most sense. Finally, someone that could throw down there. On the Green Bay end of things, though, Love obviously coming back from last week. They were playing down, but he did lead a good comeback on an outstanding 32 completions on 54 attempts, which is just unheard of. Again, game script, playing down most of the time. Can't really give it to Josh Jacobs. They need to, though. They need to give, again, going back to, you got an incredible receiving core. don't forget about the run game. Josh Jacobs is no joke. The guy is also a good receiving back. I mean, when he had his 32 attempts and busted out for like 150 yards, that guy runs hard. He came from Vegas. Now he's back here in Green Bay. He's got something to prove. I know last week he only had 9 attempts on 51 rushing yards, 4 for 27 through the air. Packers are 2-2. Extremely tough division, especially with how hot. Obviously, we're watching the Lions right now with that incredible team that they have there, and the Vikings, which we didn't think would be anything this year, especially losing JJ and him and Sam, the truth Darnold stepping in. But Green Bay's got to win against these teams. They can't have a trap game and take their foot off the pedal at all. So I'm hoping that either the Packers blow them out, or it could be a shootout, or Kyren Williams to score another 3 touchdowns and put the team on his back and take over the Packs. So a lot of things to think about, a lot of things to watch out, especially for Stafford and Kupp, what they do with their teams. Obviously, they're both aging. Could they go elsewhere? Kupp going to the 49ers, possibly. You never know. They could use another receiver since Ayuk and Debo aren't doing it. And Stafford finally getting the receivers and running backs that he deserves in one last hurrah with a possible contending team, being the Dolphins and such, especially with how they're playing right now. So that's my game of the week, Rams versus Packers. We'll see how that goes.
You talk about Stafford only has 1 touchdown over the last 3 weeks. I think that's probably just his top 2 receiving options are out.
Yeah, last week he went
for him. So
yeah, last week he went 20 for 29. So he's still making good throws, 224 yards. He did throw an interception, had 1 carry for -1 yard and lost a fumble. But I agree with Nutt. I think Cooper and Puka being out, it just hurts him. He's got no one to throw the ball to, because watching him for years on the Lions, he only threw to Megatron, but he threw the ball where only Megatron could get it, which is honestly anywhere. But I think he sticks around. Honestly, I don't hate the idea of him going to Miami, because it would be really fun to watch him play with those weapons down there. Like, imagine him throwing the ball to Tyreek, and Waddle down there having that running game, a chain, and Mostert when he comes back. I know he's still out, which could be a possibility. But I think he's not the guy to jump ship. He stuck with the Lions for so long, and they were terrible his first couple of years. I mean, they were just abysmal.
Yeah, but remember, it's not his option though. I mean, we
yeah,
know that
you're right.
Stand true, but if McVay goes, yeah, we can get something for you, and just tank.
See you bye.
Yeah,
yeah.
It's an unfortunate thing, but business is business,
Yep, it's unfortunate, because I think he really likes that city and being there, and he's had a lot of success there. He won his first Super Bowl there. Wish it would have been with the Lions, but hey, it is what it is, man. We're winning it this year. But I'll top it off here, going with a Saturday night game, going back in the college world. I know Georgia, Alabama, saw the highlights from that, watched a little bit with Nutter. Alabama went up big, and then Georgia made a astounding comeback. Another championship game rematch for the SEC. Got another championship rematch, but this one is for it all at Michigan at Washington, 7:30 p.m. on Saturday is going to be my game of the week. It's a rematch, the last game of the year. Very different teams from last year. So Michigan lost a ton of people, 13 players to the NFL draft this year. JJ's gone, Blake Corum's gone, Sanderson's gone, Michael Barrett's gone. A lot of key players on both sides of the ball there.
Connor Stalions is gone.
Hey, he was gone. It's a great documentary. I think he was just really good at what he did.
Uh-huh.
I really do. I mean, you know what? That's fine. I could go into that for about as long as Fish could talk about the Eagles after watching that documentary. But then, going to Washington, they had 10 players that are gone. Michael Penix is on the Falcons, working behind Kirk Cousins. He was a huge part of that offense. Rome Odunze, he's with the Bears with Caleb Williams, another big part there. And I just, Michigan's having quarterback struggles. Orgy can't throw the ball worth a damn. He sure as hell can run it. Mullings has looked really good, honestly outshining Donovan Edwards, which is a big surprise to me. And I just think with Washington joining the Big Ten now, I think like when they played USC, you're going to see what you did last year with just that knockout, drag out man football where Michigan just needs to line up and run the ball down their goddamn throat. And they'll win that game. But I'm excited to watch it. It's a night game. Night games are always fun. So that's my game of the week. I catch it, a great start, a great end of the college slate there. The good college games, you got the 11 o'clock weird ones, but and then kick off into football Sunday at 9:30 a.m. in the morning. I'll be at the bar watching it. Just kidding, I won't be there.
Top 10 name for that Lions or that Michigan quarterback, by the way.
Alex Orji. The signs when they played the Trojans were fantastic. Look them up on Twitter. They were a riot.
Imagine. All right, boys, those were good games this week for sure. Hopefully we, like I said, we keep the trend of having really exciting games for the people to tune into. So time will tell, definitely. But as always, it's time to end the podcast with our draft. And this week it's going to be a contentious one. It's our favorite sports movies of all time. So there's a lot of sports movies.
Yeah, this one's tough. And I regret picking this one because this is rough.
Yeah. We could honestly do 2 drafts on this one too. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and do the randomizer in real time again. Let's see what we get.
But I made you share your screen so I could see it. Eh!
Oh, you want me to share my screen? Roll it again?
No. Go ahead. Keep it. I believe you. Yeah.
Zoltowski is first. Fish, you got pick 2. And I'm bringing up the rear. So Zoltowski, why don't you get us started here?
Oh,
and I did want to say these have to be like films. These can't be documentaries.
okay.
Of course.
Okay.
Maybe that'll
Okay.
be a different.
No, it could be like an adaptation, right?
Yeah, like a biopic.
Like, yeah. Okay. Ooh, 1-1. A lot of pressure, a lot of good movies to choose from. Oh God. I gotta go with the Mighty Ducks. I have to. I watched the crap out of that movie growing up, and I played hockey. I grew up right outside Detroit, and dude, that movie just the flying V, quack, 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 quack. It's what started it all. Without D1, there's no D2.
That's true.
I'm not wrong. But that's my 1-1. It's just a great movie. It's on Disney Plus. Go watch it.
It is a great movie. I don't know if that would have been my 1-1, but that is a great movie. Gordon Bombay is fantastic. Fish, why don't you go ahead and hit us with your first pick of the first round?
Here's what should have been 1-1, right? Okay. Now, as a baseball fanatic, we're kind of going back to the old school ways, right? We could all imagine being at a circus, little festival going on, and then throwing in a big thing of chaw. I'm going to go ahead and say Sandlot is my 1-2. That movie is an absolute staple for anyone that liked baseball, played baseball growing up. Seeing Babe Ruth at the end, my favorite ball player of all time. Watching Benny the Jet Rodriguez do his thing, the big dog, and of course, obviously, the voice, the narration over it. It's just, that movie is an absolute staple. I'll pass it down to my kids. They'll watch it. It's just one of the ones that hits hard. Especially if it's on, it's one of those, I gotta stop what I'm doing and watch it. And it's like rewatching the movie all over again. So that's mine. Sandlot gotta be the 1-2.
Sandlot's a great movie. I love that movie, and that movie's nothing without Squints and Ham. Is that his name? Ham.
Oh, Big Hammy. Yep.
Big Hammy. Yeah.
The Hambino, baby.
Those two. The great Hambino. And you're right. We talked about James Earl Jones last episode, but definitely one of his most memorable roles for me still. So great pick, Fish. That was a great pick. Definitely in the top tier of my list for sure. But not my 1-1. My 1-1 is still on the board. And I'm going to take it. You know, this movie's about football. Movie's about high school football specifically. It's about, you know, mixing. I don't know if I want to say mixing races. I guess that is what it's about. I'm taking Remember the Titans. Remember the Titans is one of the best movies I've ever seen. You know, I watch it anytime it comes on TV. It's always a banger. It always makes you feel good. It hits you right in the feels every time. You know, at the end of that movie, always brings a little bit of a tear to your eye when, spoilers, Gary passes away. But great movie. I actually met the actor that plays Gary Bertier in real life. I met him at a Comic-Con once, and that was a pretty cool experience. So
That's sick.
I think you were there for that.
Was I?
I'm pretty sure I've only been to cons with you, so I'm not sure. Yeah, that's my 1-1. I'm really happy it fell to me at the third pick here. So
Hot take. It's not that I don't remember it. I might have to just rewatch it.
Well, the movie's literally called Remember the Titans, so you should probably watch it.
It's just
remember it.
It's, I mean, a good pick. You enjoy it. I've heard great things. I just don't know if it. I don't know how it never showed up on my radar.
Denzel.
Oh, Denzel's great. I love watching Denzel.
Coach Boone. I mean, come on.
You know what? Maybe we'll have to have a movie night.
And then one of my favorite actors, Ethan Suplee's in it, and then what he has done throughout his life is amazing to me. He's yeah. I won't go too far into that, but all right. My second pick, I was really hoping that this would fall to me as well. I'm happy it is, and I'm going to pick The Hoosiers.
That's a good one too.
It's another movie, hits you right in the feels.
I think we just lost him, Fish.
Did we?
I think we did. That's fine. We got the no, you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you not hear me?
Yeah, go for your pick again. You went away for a second.
Oh, I'm sorry. My second pick is The Hoosiers.
Yeah,
basketball movie.
Great pick.
It's a good one.
Love that movie. So that's my second pick. Fish, what's your second pick?
My second pick, also going to go with a more of a baseball themed here, and a small actor named Tom Hanks. I dressed up as him. Andy and I dressed up as the movie for Halloween for Stampers thing. It's got to be A League of Their Own. The phrase "there's no crying in baseball." It's just, I mean, every time you're at a baseball game, someone yells it. Especially towards the end when the girls made the Hall of Fame and stuff like that, and kind of see them all older and what happened, throughout the years and stuff like that. Always kind of, it kind of brings a little bit of a sensitive side to me. Seeing Jimmy Dugan up there, he finally made the Hall of Fame. He gets a little change of heart at the end, stuff like that. So, again, one of those movies, if it's on, I got to sit down and watch it. It's just, it brings joy and happiness to a lot of my movie emotions. So definitely tugs the heartstrings a little bit, especially for me being, a baseball player and stuff. So pretty cool thing. Great character.
Pick. Great pick, Fish. Great actor, I know. Watching that growing up, my sisters all played softball, so it's just a great movie. And then goes to me, correct? For
you're on the turn, so
two and on the turn. All right, I'm gonna stick with the hockey theme here, and I hope I stole this from one of you guys, maybe probably from Fish, but I'm gonna go with.
It down, so let me know if I
yeah. Yes, Miracle.
Yeah.
Miracle. It's just, it's just a fantastic movie. I remember my dad took me out of school to go see it in theaters. And oh, dude, just when they're playing the Soviets and it's the end of the game and the audio switches over to the actual recording, I'm getting goosebumps right now just thinking about it. Do you believe in miracles? And because it was the Cold War was going on, it was there was so much going on in the world, and for it to come into sports and dude, legit, I love this movie. It's a great movie. I always rewatch it just every now and then I get the urge. Herb Brooks, the coach. I mean, it's just one of those. I can't help but get excited talking about this movie.
I think we need to have a movie night and just
watch the sports movies. I'm in. It's Kurt Russell plays Herb Brooks. Yes. And just such a good movie. Oh,
yeah, that's definitely a great pick.
Oh, all right. And then on the turn here. So go a little flip floppy here. I know we've been doing a lot of good kind of serious movies, a little bit of comedy in The Sandlot there, but I got to go with a classic comedy movie about golf. With Happy Gilmore.
I thought you were going to say Caddyshack.
Caddyshack's a good one too, but Adam Sandler, man, that movie's just so funny. I just love that movie. Yeah. It's when he fights Bob Barker, the price is wrong, bitch.
Yeah, dude, Adam Sandler had a run there for a while, and that's one of those
bangers. Nothing but bangers, man.
Absolutely.
But that's just my number one comedy sports movie. I think Kicking and Screaming is close second. Don't know if anyone has that. That's not making it on my list.
Kicking and Screaming is pretty good.
Give me a juice box, boy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but Fish, what's your next pick? Is it Air Bud?
Dude, it might be, but this one also tugs at the heartstrings a little bit, and it's something that this team as a whole should do again, right? It establishes and really just gives hope to the city of brotherly love.
Already typed it.
Yeah, but you misspelled it. Invincible.
Sure.
Oh. Yes.
Invincible is one of those ones where, like Zoltowski, I watch it at least once a year, if not 4 or 5 times. I just watched it the other day, actually. As I'm, in despair of the Eagles, I look and I go, okay, maybe Vince Papale could help turn it around. I got his jersey signed upstairs. We only had a few stints with the Eagles, but it's something that honestly kind of lit a fire under their ass. You're bringing this no-name bartender from the streets of Philly to play for the Eagles, and you kind of seeing the same characters in the movie that you kind of see what they have nowadays. Everybody was kind of playing for themselves. They didn't really give a shit. And then all of a sudden, this no-name off the street comes in and does incredible things on special teams. He was a receiver too, but obviously the special teams, the touchdown, guy ran into the guy, caught it, ran in for the touchdown on the punt return there, which was it always tugs the heartstrings. I get a little teary-eyed. I got to make sure that no one's around me. So they don't see the soft side of me, but that one definitely hits home. It especially being an Eagles fan, it's definitely one that hits deep for sure.
Yeah, that movie is that's a great one as well. It's the theme of that movie is all about hope and believing in yourself and all that stuff, and it's definitely a good movie to watch if you're struggling with that. So.
You think the Eagles need to hold open tryouts in real life, Fish? Maybe that'll help.
This for like 6 years now. Yes.
Yeah, great movie, great pick.
Honestly, they should have open tryouts for coaching too. Because I think anyone.
Here comes the Sirianni dig.
Could do it.
There it is.
Do you like Sirianni or?
No, I think his hat looks stupid.
All right, here's
too much.
I'm going to hit you with my last 2 picks here. I did want to pick movies from all different sports. So my third one, I know neither of you have seen this. It's a recent film. It's from 2023. Amy and I actually went to Newport, went to the aquarium, and then we just decided to do a spontaneous movie date thing. And we decided to go see The Iron Claw.
I've heard nothing but good things about this movie, and it's on my list.
This movie is incredible. I mean, it's an A24 film. If you know about A24, it's
Great movies.
Very, very much dramatizationed up. But the crazy thing about this story is they actually dramatizationed it down, if that's even a term you can use. This movie is about a professional wrestling family. They're up there with, the Rhodes family. They're up there with the Flairs when it comes to professional wrestling, the professional wrestling greats. But they're all about the curse of the Von Erichs. If you're a wrestling fan, you probably know a little bit about this story. There was a father, I forget his name, but he was a wrestler. He had 4 or 5 sons that also ended up being professional wrestlers down in Texas. They were on the Texas circuit. This is before like WWE and everything was big. And not to give anything away, most of the sons died in tragic ways. In fact,
huge spoiler alert.
Well, I'm not going to tell you how they died, but the story is, there was actually 4 sons that died, and the movie thought that was going to make it too sad and not believable, so they wrote one of the sons out pretty much. This movie is one of those, like, it's so heavy you can only watch it once every little bit. It's kind of like that Tom Hanks movie Castaway. That one's really heavy as well. So it's just one of those really heavy movies that really impacts you. I vividly remember we were driving home. It's like a 30-minute drive, and I don't think we said anything until we got to our exit about anything at all. It impacts you. You just feel for that family. The way it ends is very somber, and definitely go give that a watch if you haven't seen it. Have your tissues ready. There's definitely going to be some tears to fall, but that's definitely one of the best sports movies I've ever seen. And then I'm going to end this draft for myself with my 4th pick. I'm between a lot of different movies, but I think I have to go with The Rookie. That's another feel-good movie. It's kind of like Invincible. It's all about believing yourself. Not sure if any of you guys had that on your list, but that is a movie that I remember watching with my parents a bunch when we were when I was a kid. They always enjoyed watching that. So The Rookie is definitely going to be my 4th pick there.
That's a good one. Rookie's a good one.
That's a good one. Good picks.
And Fish, what about your last pick of this draft?
My last pick, again, like you said, there's so many movies to pick from. Sorry, I thought somebody was going to get mossed. There's so many movies to pick from. You got 42. You got a bunch of other ones, but this is one I don't think that either of you saw coming. One of my all-time favorite sports movies amongst these. Again, one of those ones where if it's on, I'm going to sit down and watch it. It's a basketball one. It's Glory Road. Glory Road.
That's a good one.
Absolutely love Glory Road. I think the whole premise, the whole story was an absolute incredible thing. For those of you that don't know, Don Haskins is a coach for Texas Western College Miners. In 1966, led an all-black team to the championship against the Kentucky all-white team. Back then, you didn't really have starters of a different race. Mostly it was just white dominant there. So he made a statement there by starting an all-black team, all-black starters, and they did incredible. It was an incredible movie, very, very passionate, very emotional. You kind of get an insight of what they dealt with, especially traveling on the road and traveling down south. So, absolutely incredible movie. Another tearjerker, honestly, if we're saying so. Glory Road, rounding up the trip there.
Great pick. And now I get to
Great pick.
close out the whole draft, and this is a tough one. Oh, I've got a couple here, but I think I got to go with this one, especially, now the history that goes with it. And, this will be one way to look back on this franchise now that it's gone. I got to go with Moneyball with Brad Pitt. Billy Bean. Great actors in that, Brad Pitt, you got Jonah Hill. Honestly, the analytics of how they break down baseball is, I love. That's fascinating to me. It's a great book too, but just a really good movie about how you take a team of ragtags that everyone counts out, but you look at the numbers and what they do, and they're going out there playing good ball, and it's just a feel good movie as well. But that's my last pick to close it out.
Yeah, those are all great picks, and there's definitely a lot of meat left on the bone in the
Oh my, there's so much meat. I'm surprised Rocky Fish, you didn't pick. I almost did. That was almost my last pick.
I don't even know if I want to go into honorable mentions. Just
dude, I could just hammer out so many. Greater, American Underdog, Blindside, Friday Night Lights. I mean, the list goes on forever.
Talladega Nights.
Talladega Nights. If you ain't first, you're last.
Couple great football comedy movies I thought about talking about was Longest Yard, both
Longest Yard,
the new one, and then also The Replacements is a fantastic movie.
Replacements is a good one too.
Gridiron Gang.
Gridiron Gang as well. Yeah.
Going back to hockey, I don't know if you guys have ever seen Goon or Goon 2, Slapshot.
Good.
Yep.
I'm putting on the foil, coach.
Yeah, definitely great picks. I think in the future we could definitely do our second favorite sports movies of all time draft.
Just more favorite sports movies.
Or some sort of sports documentary draft as well. So, great picks as always, boys. The graphics will be updated. Eventually we should probably count these and see who's winning. Maybe we'll talk about that on the next podcast. I'll bring it up and we'll count out who's winning and everything. So,
no, because it's probably Fish, and I don't want to hear it. We don't need to make his ego any bigger.
True. Yeah.
I just make solid picks. Is what I do.
Just remind you of the Eagles.
Accounts and you're just voting for yourself.
I mean, that's a possibility. Don't rule it out.
All right. Another great episode, guys. You guys have anything before we close it out here?
No, nothing on my end.
Nothing on my end.
Yep, nothing here really either. So I just want to say, if you're listening, thank you very much. We really appreciate it. Keep your eyes open for some updates on the socials when we start to get simulcasting going. That's going to be probably within the next month here. And additionally, I think we're going to do a giveaway as well for our Cincinnati-based listeners, at least. And then maybe we'll do a giveaway for everyone as well. So just want to make sure that, we're giving back as much as you guys have given us in terms of listenership. So we really appreciate everybody who's listened. We appreciate everyone who takes the time out of their day. It means more than you know. Keep telling your friends about us. We're not going to go anywhere. We're going to keep pumping these out every week. So, definitely thank you guys. The last thing I really need to say is our TikTok we got locked out of. So we are now a Game Time Gents pod on TikTok. So we're Game Time Gents everywhere else, but on TikTok we're Game Time Gents pod. So just keep that in mind, and we hope to talk to you next week. And as always say GG, and thanks for being a gent. See you guys.
See ya.
Bye.